A strong economy and a tough stance. President Trump threatening tariffs on over $200 billion in Chinese imports as the United States receives a strong jobs report on Friday. Here now is the White House Deputy Press Secretary Hogan Gidley. Hogan, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be with you, Maria. Thanks so much for the time.
What is the timetable for the potential tariffs against China?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the president, obviously. I was standing right next to him on Air Force One when he told the press pool exactly what he was thinking, and that was he had billions of dollars, hundreds of billions, in fact, in the hopper ready to go. As you know, the president wants an equal playing field for trade with China and others around the world, and he'll do what he can to make sure that happens.
So what would you say in terms of what we could see next? I mean, we know that the president has successfully dealt with Mexico, but we're waiting to see if Canada follows suit, and you've got colleagues in Europe this morning dealing with the Europeans. What can you tell us?
Well, look, I mean, the president had some breakthroughs with President Juncker here at the White House with the EU. He's had breakthroughs with Mexico. He's dealing with Canada as we speak, trying to get that deal done as well. You know, we came to a bilateral agreement with Mexico. The president has said many times he wants Canada in that deal, but he wants the deal to be fair for Americans. And if it's not going to be, and Canada does not want to play ball, then they'll have to go it alone, and the president will join with Mexico, and they'll keep that deal in place. He wants more people brought to the table. He wants the trade barriers eliminated. He wants them gone. He believes our farmers, our workers can compete against anybody around the globe. The problem is we've got to have those tariffs come down, and the president's going to fight for the Americans and the American workers and American businesses to make sure that happens.
So are you expecting another deal to be announced before the midterm elections, Hogan?
I'm not sure. You know, the president has said it's close. I don't want to guess or pontificate on what close means, but the president's in all of those trade deals and those negotiations. He wants them to be pro-American. He understands other countries have to succeed, too. He's not anti-Mexico or anti-Canada. In fact, he says on every occasion he can that he wants them to succeed, too, but it can't be at the cost of the American people, and that's what he's here to protect.
Let me ask you about this potential looming government shutdown, if that's still the case. The Journal this morning is reporting congressional leaders are expected to secure a deal today on 3 separate spending bills, avoiding a partial government shutdown by the end of the month. Will the president get the funding for the border wall? And if the funding is not in this upcoming budget end of September, do you think that hurts Republicans going into the midterms?
Look, I think it hurts all Americans when our country isn't safe. And that's what this president swore an oath to protect, the American people first and foremost. He wants border security. He's talked about how he wants that, whether it be a border wall, whether it's ending chain migration and other pillars that he's discussed in the past. Democrats chose to shut the government down, and they chose, actually, quite frankly, to stand up for hundreds of thousands of people who are here illegally and unlawfully, as opposed to hundreds of millions of American citizens. That's what blows my mind. It's not worried about Democrat versus Republican. It's about the American people. The president has promised he would protect them, and he wants Congress to come to the table to provide the funding to do that. Right now, we have a porous border. It's the worst immigration laws in the world. He's made that quite clear. People are pouring across the border. You have drug lords, child trafficking, human trafficking coming across this border into this country. It's a very dangerous situation, and Democrats don't want to solve it. The president wants a lasting solution, and he'll fight with Congress to get it.
Do Republicans want to solve it? I mean, do you think Republicans are on board with this president in terms of making sure the money is there to secure the borders?
They sure seem like they are. They talk about it incessantly on the campaign trail. The proof, though, is in the pudding. You've got to put the money out there in order to protect the American people. The president ran on that. He was elected on that. And I believe, quite frankly, a lot of Republicans were elected on that, too. So hopefully they join with this president to protect the American people, because that's what this is all about. It's not about limiting numbers or some crazy scheme to keep people out of this country. The president said he loves immigration. He just wants it to be fair. He wants it to be reasonable. He wants it to protect American citizens, but he also wants it to be based on merit. He wants people to come to this country if they want to come here. He wants them to assimilate, learn the language, but contribute to society and not be a drain on it.
But do you think the rhetoric coming out of the president's office these days is a little less in terms of we will shut the government down if we don't have the funding for the border wall? If the money is not there, the president last week when he was in Montana spoke to Pete Hegseth, sounded more realistic in terms of, look, we don't want to shut it down right before the midterm elections. Is that what you're hearing from the president now?
Well, look, I was standing next to him in that interview and the subsequent one on the plane ride home, and he said, listen, I don't want the shutdown to happen, but I'm willing to fight and do what it takes politically to protect the American people.
So no shutdown.
Well, I don't know what form that's going to take. I just know the president's going to push to protect the American people regardless. It's not necessarily about a shutdown before the midterm or afterwards. It's about coming up with a lasting solution. That's what he wants.